up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. This is the Monday, February 22nd edition of Straight Shooting Sports Talk. And I'm your host, your humble host as always, Dujane Bland. We're going to get into a lot of stuff today. We've got a lot of catching up to do. We're going to get into a lot of stuff across the NFL, NBA. So we appreciate you tuning in today, and we are live. So, if you want to get at us immediately and you have a question or something you want to hear talked about on this show as we are live at the moment, you can hit me up on Twitter at NotBland21. You can also hit us up on our email address. That is straightshootingst@gmail.com. That's straightshootingst@gmail.com. And we'll try to answer those questions. Also, if you're listening to us on the speaker app here, we do have a chat, and you can message directly there. Well, let's get into it, and we will start
the NFL.
And we're going to start with the NFL. Lots of things going on, and we'll start with the off-season, the bad things that tend to happen in the off-season. And I can't figure out why you play all season long. You stay occupied all season long, you give these guys a little bit of time, and you think, right? You just go and you do something fun. You go and go on vacation, go to a place to relax, get away from things. Maybe you just hang out with your family. Nope, not Matt Elam. Not Ravens safety Matt Elam. Oh, no. He doesn't have enough money, I guess. But most of us know that the drug trafficking business only has one way to go. And what's that thing in Monopoly? Directly to jail? Yeah. He was arrested on 3 drug-related charges early Sunday morning in Miami. Booked at 3:45 a.m., charged with possession of more than 20 grams of marijuana. Now, most people know how I feel about marijuana. I think sometimes it's a overrated thing. It's not something that people should be spending several years, like 20 plus, as if someone murdered someone. But you're an NFL player, and it is illegal in most places, and you are trafficking drugs. As if you don't make enough money. I mean, we're not even like, a month into the NFL offseason. Now, I know that the Ravens offseason started a little bit earlier, but come on, man. Yeah, we all heard what happened to Darrelle Revis, and I don't believe that was Darrelle Revis at all on that tape. But, I mean, even if he did kick that dude's butt at 2 o'clock in the morning, I mean, do you really want a fan in your face demanding an autograph? Or whatever else he was trying to do? Yeah, it's a little bit disrespectful. Just a little bit. But Mr. Elam here, yeah, I understand football season is almost all season with the workouts, things of that nature. And I mean, you can't find something else better to do with your time. I mean, you can't be that strapped, right? To be selling drugs. I don't get it. Don't get it at all. But on to some better news. We have the NFL free agency that is coming up. We have the NFL Combine, which I will say, as a reporter, I enjoyed the Senior Bowl. I'm not sure I enjoy the NFL Combine. It's like herding in a bunch of cattle, you know, for the slaughter, I guess. You know, picking, prodding, poking guys. You know, it almost looks like slave trade. You know, where they just got bodies in there just pinching and poking and you know, examining this guy and going through all these injury histories and things like that. And I know the interview process is important for teams. They want to kind of get to know a guy, and maybe he's had some off the field trouble, and they want to know why that happened. And they want to have an idea of, you know, the guy that they're getting. But the on the field stuff, running these cones, is like, oh, he does that cone drill exceptionally well. Yeah, because cone drills make a difference on the field. I mean, that really shows football, you know, prowess, right? Running a bunch of cone drills and no defenders, throwing open passes. I mean, we could just have a bunch of pro days, right? We don't have enough tape on these guys, do we? I mean, to be running cone drills, jumping, you know, benching. I mean, really, I don't. So what? Dude can bench 200 pounds and he can put it up 30, 40 times. So? Does that mean that he's going to be a great football player? Does that mean that he's going to be a great defensive end or great linebacker? Absolutely not. Because he can run a couple drills and runs a great 40, does that mean that he's like super fast? No, because there's been guys that have not run great 40s and have excellent game day speed. So, I mean, it's all fine and good, just not something that I'm really into as we come into the NFL season. I do love free agency, though. I don't love it for the fact that teams change so much. I think most of us that grew up and able to watch football early 80s, before free agency really became big, you know, you had opportunity to see your favorite player be with a team, sometimes start with that team and even finish with that team. And only when the team felt that they were no longer able to bring the same football abilities to the table were they released and going to another team if they still wanted to play. But now, I mean, you could have a player for a year or two, or maybe you have him through his contract. Maybe you draft him, and in his year 4, he's no longer with your team anymore because of free agency and how, you know, teams can lure a guy with dollars. And I know guys are, you know, want to make money, and you know, it's not guaranteed contracts, so it's important for them to make money. And this is the league that we're in, and I like the free agency. I just don't like the longevity sometimes of star players leaving, not being able to stay with their teams through the longevity of their career. But some guys have been released already. Andrew Hawkins, the Browns, he was released, and that's really no surprise. He hadn't really done much in the last few years. And they have some really nice receivers over there, young guys that really can make plays. Victor Cruz was earlier in the offseason when it started. That's not a surprise either. He hadn't been able to stay on the field. And he was able to play the entire season, but he looks like he's lost a step since those injuries. But you know, it's one of those things. It's the NFL. It's the modern day NFL. Nick Mangold, center of the New York Jets, he's gone. And some of this is just cap casualty. You know, teams trying to get under the cap, trying to make room for money that they may need to spend in other areas. And trying to get their teams better in certain positions. And that brings me to the Washington Redskins. Now, as any team, it's an important week for the Redskins. a very important week for the Redskins when you're looking at the offseason and the draft. It's important. It's super important. And what needs to happen for them, you ask? Well, they've got to sign a quarterback first off. They've got to figure out whether they're going to franchise Kirk or whether they're going to give him a contract. Now, probably they will franchise him for the second time in his career. And he was Pro Bowler. They wanted to give him a contract or to want him to prove it, and he proved it this year. Some would say that same old Kirk Cousins with the interceptions at big moments didn't make the playoffs this year. But you look at his numbers, and he has proved that he can be a valuable quarterback for this team. Now, obviously, you don't want to overpay for this guy because at the end of the day, you are what you are. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I believe that at times, people elevate Kirk Cousins above what he really is. And that's not a bad thing, and that's not nothing bad against Kirk Cousins. But you want an Aaron Rodgers type guy, a Phillip Rivers type guy, and he's just not those guys. He's going to make those mistakes every now and then. And sometimes they are at critical moments where you really need to have something and you come up with nothing. He forces it a little bit. But overall, he makes some really good plays when he is on. When he's hot, he's hot. When he's not, boy, he's not. And that's just who he is. I mean, if you've seen him through his career here in Washington, that's been the guy that he has been. He has not changed. But he has gotten better with time on the field, with being able to be the unspoken leader, the quarterback of this team, has helped him to settle down and to be able to showcase what he really can do. Now, the question is how long it's going to take for them to get a deal done. Now, this franchise has kind of done this to themselves. And you can't blame them, right? I mean, they are a woman scorned, so to speak. Had very bad experiences with quarterbacks. Jeff George, ring a bell. Heath Schuler. Patrick Ramsey, which I don't blame Patrick. I mean, do I need to go any further? Donovan McNabb. Might even say RG3 at this point. So they're taking their time. And maybe, just maybe, they should have paid him last year before they franchised him instead of making him prove it. But I understand why the Redskins did what they did. Now, they also have some other free agents at wide receiver that they're going to have to address as well. But these decisions have to be made in a quick fashion. Deshaun Jackson is a free agent. Garcon is a free agent. Now, I've said it before. I think they can keep both of them. They may not be able to keep both of them, but I think they can. Doxson is a receiver that many people like. He's getting healthy. Saw a video on him working out. And he's progressing. Think he can be a big target for this team. You have Jamison Crowder. Still have Jordan Reed. They may decide to keep Vernon Davis. I thought Vernon played pretty well, especially in moments down the stretch and during the season. Played better than I thought he would produce for this team. And you could get away probably with keeping one or the other, Deshaun or Pierre. But those decisions have to be made and have to be made soon because March 1st is right around the corner. So it's going to be an interesting time, and those in D.C. and the like we'll be keeping a close eye on what the Burgundy and Gold do, because I tell you, with the Dallas Cowboys and that offense, now granted they have a lot of free agents on defense, and I honestly think that they don't, these free agents aren't overly talented, but yet each piece to the puzzle makes a complete unit. And as we've stated many times during the season, Rob Marinelli had done an excellent job with very little talent on that defensive side of the ball. So Washington Redskins have to make the right decisions if they want to contend for the division and be able to make the playoffs next season. Well, now let us get into some NBA talk.
The NBA.
Yes, indeed. And it's hot. Very hot. And I will start this segment off with my thoughts on what Dan Le Batard said. And if you did not hear what he said, here's a little snippet.
What you've got here, though, is a testament to the power of fame and a testament to the power of a modicum of charm, because Magic Johnson is charming. But Magic Johnson was given a late-night television show because he's famous and charming. Failed in 11 shows. Magic Johnson was given a head coaching job of the Lakers because he's famous and charming. Failed in 16 games. Magic Johnson, not interesting as a broadcaster, given broadcasting opportunity after broadcasting opportunity because he's famous and charming. And now he gets to run the entire Lakers organization because he's famous and charming. That's amazing. That is amazing how he's been able, and he's a very kind man. To be in his presence is to be awash in all the things that people like about celebrity. He will make you feel special, but he wasn't good at any of the jobs that I just mentioned, and he got all those jobs, bypassing a whole bunch of people who were more qualified because he's famous and charming. That's crazy to me. But Magic Johnson, I don't know that anybody would make the argument Magic Johnson was good at broadcasting. Good at saying interesting things?
No, I don't think anyone would make that argument.
But it's amazing to me. It is the power of celebrity and the power of who you know, that you could get all of these great jobs that there are many more qualified people for standing in line who won't get a sniff of those jobs because Magic Johnson just cuts line. He cuts the line.
I mean, in that city, within that organization, Dan, he should be able to cut the line.
Okay, but he did as coach, and it lasted 16 games. And he quit after 16 games, 5-11.
Now I know that was a long snippet, but I wanted to play the whole thing because, see, there has been a bad habit of people playing pieces of what someone says and did not hear the whole entire take of what Le Batard had to say about Magic Johnson, including his co-host Stugatz and what he had to say about that as well. So it was an interesting conversation, and if anybody, I'm a fan of Dan Le Batard. Listen to him on occasion, but pretty regularly. And if you know Dan Le Batard, he does not shy away from making strong takes and having strong takes on certain issues. And that was a strong take. Now, for individuals to take what he said and to say that it was a racist statement, you need to listen to the entire take. Because personally, I don't feel that anything that Le Batard said was wrong. He stated facts. Magic wasn't successful as a coach. He wasn't. The TV show, yeah, it didn't do well. For whatever reason. And he's made some interesting comments about different players, even about the Phil hiring there with the New York Knicks. The only thing I disagree with is that is the only reason why Magic got this job with the Lakers. Now, I'm going to be the first to say that this is a great move for LA. Yeah, his track record isn't great, but no one can deny the fact that Magic is an excellent businessman. Very successful businessman, understands how to conduct business with people, handle people, manage people. That's part of being head of football or head of basketball operations. It's being able to handle people. He brings in a GM to be able to help him in that regard. Former Kobe Bryant agent. I think it's Polinsky. But that's what great business people do. When they realize that, hey, I have great ideas. And I'm not saying that Magic Johnson doesn't know how to execute these ideas. And he has great ideas on how this team needs to be run. Great move by not getting a older Paul George and giving and auctioning away a young talent, because this team is talented. It's young, though. It already has a very good nucleus that needs to be built upon. And the reason why they are in the position that they are in, because of people like Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak got lazy and made ignorant, poor decisions that set this franchise back. Now, a great business person also realizes that he has to have some help. So you surround yourself with people that maybe have a little bit more knowledge in certain areas, whether it's player personnel, scouting, the like. And when you build a great staff that can help you reach the goal that you want to reach and rejuvenating a franchise, you're able to do so. Because, you see, it doesn't all fall on one individual. Magic is just one building block to many building blocks. And I think the right building block. Yes, fame and charm helps a lot and sometimes does get people jobs. No one wants a stink face. No one wants to deal with a butthole. So, of course, you have to know how to handle and deal with people. And sometimes that wins people over. Sometimes that gets people jobs that maybe they don't have any business getting. But to say that he's not qualified to do the job and what he's asked to do, if anybody knows this franchise more, it's Magic. And the only other person that I would say that would have gotten that job that Magic got over him is Kobe Bryant. And it's definitely time for a shakeup. They did that. And now the Lakers can move forward and hopefully getting back to Showtime. Because they have a great coach in Luke Walton. They have some great players, some great young players. They're just a few pieces away. Now, whether they do that through the draft or a combination of draft and free agency, we'll see as this goes on, as the Magic Johnson regime moves forward. But I like the move. I don't have a problem with what Le Batard said And for those who think that it's a racist statement of what he said, you guys are foolish. Now, we're after the All-Star break. And I see Washington Wizards fans going berserk because they've lost two of their last three. Two of their last three. But they're still third in the NBA rankings at 34-23. Now I know getting on a little bit of a losing streak, being that they are in a 2-game losing streak, can be a little bit unnerving. It can. Because you don't want this thing to steamroll out of control, lose the momentum that you built going into the All-Star break. Come out of the All-Star break slumping in such a tight division, really. When you look at the top four, you got the Cavs 40-17, Celtics 38-21. It's the Wizards right there in third at 34-23. Then right behind them, the Raptors 35-24. Hawks 32-26. And then right there at sixth, we'll just stop there. 6th and 7th, they're 30-29, tied respectively there. 6 and 7. Pacers 7 with the same record. So I understand that. I understand you don't want to get in a slump. But let's take a look at some numbers here. Let's take a look at some numbers here. Now, when you look at the Washington Wizards, and we talked about this right before the All-Star break, but when you look at the Washington Wizards, their home record is 24-8. They are hot at home. Now, one thing we talked about with these top-tier teams is that they have to get better on the road. The Wizards are 10-15 on the road. That is a losing record. They're 5-5 in the Southeastern Conference, 500, and they're 7-3 in their last 10. 7-3 in their last 10 on a 2-game losing streak. I get that, but they're 7-3 in their last 10. Now, let's take a look at some of the other teams at the top of the board in the conference. You look at the Cavaliers. Cleveland is 15-11 on the road. Another hot team at home, 25-6. They're 8-2 in their last 10. But they're ranked at the top. They're number one. And you see why. Decent road record, solid home record. They're 26-7 in the Eastern Conference, and they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. So, expected. Now, the Boston Celtics, who are number 2, who the Wizards would like to get up above. They're on a 1-game winning streak. They are also 7-3 in their last 10. They have a better road record than the Wizards. They're 20-8 at home. That's very important. And we talked about this before the All-Star break, but again, the importance is winning the road games. If the Wizards can get better on the road, that not only will help them in the playoffs, because when you start getting past the first round, you're going to have to start winning games on the road. You're going to have to steal one. You're going to have to steal one or two to make a difference, especially when you get down into the Eastern Conference Finals, if the Wizards make it there. Now you look at the Atlanta Hawks, who are just below the Raptors, and we'll talk about the Raptors as well, but they're 4-6 in their last 10 games. Pretty much around close to 500, just above 500 at home and on the road. Both at home 16-12, they're 16-14 on the road, 4-6 in their last 12. Now last 10, that's a slide. They're on a 3-game losing streak. Not good. So as of right now, I mean, there's no concern. There's really no concern there. You look at the Raptors, who are just under. The Wizards, they're 5-5 in their last 10. They're 500. They're 500 at home, 14-14, 21-10 at home. So really, when you look at it over the last 10-game span, the Wizards are sitting pretty. They're right up there with the top teams. Reason why they are number 3 in the Eastern Conference. And we got a lot of games left. Let's be truthful. There's a lot of games left in the season. Now, I understand you want to get on a roll, especially going into the playoffs. Don't want to be backing your way into that. That usually does not work well and has not worked well for the Wizards when they tend to slump their way into the playoffs. But the teams surrounding you, below you and above you, you're not that far off from. And what it's going to take for the Wizards to really get over the hump, as we've talked about, is winning on the road, developing consistency, taking that same formula that wins you games at home and being able to take that on the road and win in hostile environments. Because at the end of the day, that's how the great teams win championships. They're able to go into a hostile environment, block out all the noise, not turning the basketball over, and playing their kind of basketball just as they do at home, on the road, and getting wins, stealing games. That's going to be the difference there. But to worry or to be of great concern of the Wizards because they have been 1-2 in their last 3 games, it's just 3 games. And there's a lot of basketball to be played down the stretch. Well, that's going to be all for our show today. We thank you for those of you who tuned in live, listen live. We appreciate it. Appreciate all of you who listen, whether you listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and the like. We appreciate you tuning into this show. Without you, there is no show. Now, if you want to submit a question, if you want to submit a topic, give a suggestion, we welcome it. You can shoot us an email to straightshootingst@gmail.com. We'll be happy to get back with you. And as always, if it's a great topic, we'll talk about it on this show. Because we love talking shop and love talking about what you want to talk about. If you want to hit me up directly, you can do that on Twitter at NotBland21. Those of you who are on Facebook, it's Dujane Bland. Instagram, NotBland21. And I'd be glad to get back with you. Love talking shop with the fans, talking about different topics, whether it's NFL, NBA, and baseball season's coming up. I tell you, I can't keep up with baseball season, but I do like it. I do like it a lot. Well, again, we thank you so much for tuning into this show. And this has been another edition of Straight Shooting Sports Talk.